Now, from the In-Quality Stand at NAB show at the Las Vegas Convention Center, streaming live around the world, showcasing ipDTL, hybrIP, and sip.audio. On Twitter, we're In-Quality Media. And here's your host, Kevin Leach.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to our virtual Las Vegas Convention Center. My name is Kevin, and I've just realized that the jacket I've just put on isn't very compatible with our chroma key situation. Maybe I'll have a costume change in a while. Thanks for tuning in to our live stream today. Great to have you here with us. So let's just say we're in Las Vegas, shall we? We were supposed to be. You were supposed to be. If you weren't, then you get a free trade show without the cost of hotels, without the gambling, unless you do a bit of gambling on the side, of course. And you get to find out all about our services without having to pay the costly airfare and all those things about that you normally have when you go to a trade show. We're going to be here at 11 a.m. Eastern, which is now, and 11 a.m. Western, which is in 3 hours from now, every day. So 11 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. That's 4 and 7 here. Well, not here. Obviously not here, but in the United Kingdom. Over there in the United Kingdom. If you want to get in touch, there's some numbers on the screen. Roger's going to take your calls. We'll check in with him in a while. We are going to talk to our first guest in a moment. She's called Kate, and she works for Cameo in the UK. Before we talk to her, let's see her in action.
Hi, I'm Kate Donaghy from Cameo Productions, and I'd like to tell you how we use sip.audio and ipDTL to connect from our studio around the corner to places like this building behind me, which houses the studios for the BBC's national radio networks. I'm actually connected back to the office right now using the Lucy Live app with sip.audio on this iPhone. Let's head back to the studio and see how it all works. This is where we connect our clients in the entertainment industries and their talent to radio stations around the world. As we, like the rest of the industry, are making the gradual transition from ISDN, we're increasing the use of SIP and the Opus codec. With our Gold subscription, we can connect to up to 4 locations from this one computer. We can even record each remote channel individually using ipDTL's built-in multi-track recorder. The beauty of SIP is that the other studio doesn't even have to be using ipDTL. They could be, for instance, using an IP hardware codec, such as the Comrex Access, which is exactly what we have here. Because it's registered with a sip.audio account, it can make or receive calls to any SIP-enabled devices by simply dialing its SIP address. And I can do that here from the web interface on my PC. And of course, because it's SIP ready, it's also compatible with ipDTL. As the #1 provider of radio and podcast campaigns, reliable connectivity is absolutely vital to what we do. When a high-profile actor or director comes in here for a tightly scheduled radio day or media tour, we've only got one chance to make things right. As we move away from ISDN, sip.audio and ipDTL are helping us here at Cameo Productions to achieve that.
So that's Kate in her workplace before all this madness happened. It's funny, isn't it? You can rehearse everything, all the technical stuff, and think, right, we're good to go. And then one costume change can wreck the green screen. Let's join Kate now, shall we, in her home down in London. Hiya, Kate. How are you doing?
Hi, good. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
And see you as well. So how's this lockdown thing working out for you and Cameo then?
Yeah, it's definitely taking some getting used to. As I'm sure the video has already mentioned, we have our studio usually in central London in Mayfair, which we obviously can't go near. and we'd usually be doing quite a lot of coverage for movie releases as our main bulk of work, which would also usually involve press junkets at central London hotels. Again, obviously that's not happening either. Red carpet radio interview campaigns via ipDTL. So where I am here.
Great. Well, I'm so glad that you can, and I'm glad that we could help you with that. Now, tell us just for those that don't know, what is Cameo, and what's your kind of bread and butter, your day-to-day work there?
Yeah, so we're a broadcast PR agency. We work on behalf of Warner Brothers, Disney, Universal, Sony, all of the, the main film distributors. We cover their radio campaigns for them. So yeah, as this would involve kind of putting together schedules for filmmakers or talent, actors, actresses, and putting together sessions for them to appear on UK and Irish radio stations, usually via ISDN lines, which are still quite prominent in BBC stations, or via ipDTL, any way we can link them up around the country. So now, instead of bringing them in studio, we're doing it from, I say we, it's just me.
Well,
I'm doing
there was normally a whole team of staff, but you were already doing all the work anyway, right?
Exactly, yeah. From my kitchen.
well, that's great. And I mean, I was talking to a colleague earlier about this, that, what would this global epidemic have been like 20 years ago before the internet, for instance? Because you were quite well prepared, and you were beginning the transition from ISDN to IP technology. I guess it hasn't all been plain sailing, but you were fairly well prepared to adjust to working from home, right?
Yeah, thankfully, we were already aware of, how to use it and how to utilize it. And if anything, we've been just kind of teaching other people that we want to connect with how to use it and how beneficial it is and the quality of it, which is something that we've been over the last, how many weeks has it been now? 3 weeks.
I've got no idea. I don't know what day it is. I haven't had a bath for a week.
Exactly. So just kind of educating the relevant, be it clients or radio stations, on how we can connect and still push forward and still promote their content. It's not the same content. Usually our bread and butter work would be for cinema releases. Obviously nothing's going into the cinema, which has turned everything back very much. Everyone's on their couches watching it on demand. So we've actually been talking to clients such as Sky TV, Netflix, Disney Plus, having conversations about how to make sure that people still know what they can watch from the comfort of their homes, and getting their talent onto radio stations for them.
And generally your work is, well, not every day, but a lot of the time your work is quite showbiz. Yeah, you deal with quite a lot of well-known actors. How are they adjusting? Is it sometimes difficult trying to get them to do what they need to do to connect with you from home, for instance?
Well, so far we've been, it's a mixture of, some, I think in this current climate, phone quality audio is being more accepted by radio stations than it would be in normal times. So there's been a few that have just as much as you try and get them in front of a laptop with some headphones on, if it has to be just phone, that's how it has had to be. But on the bulk, once you kind of talk them through how easy it is to do ipDTL, we've got quite a good amount on there as well.
Great. Well, that's good to hear. So what's been the biggest challenge so far then with this adjustment?
Oh gosh, the biggest
I put you on the spot with that one, haven't I? Maybe there hasn't been a challenge.
Usually I'm the one just listening to the interviews. Yeah. No, it's definitely not been plain sailing. I think it's just strange not being in the office with my team and not being able to literally turn to the side and say, could you do this? Or, take directions from our MD just, all at once. It's a lot more, either phone calls or emailing or just like checking in and seeing what's been done when. And stuff that would just be so straightforward and verbal in an office environment, which is strange.
Yeah. So, and I wonder, do you think the future, now that everybody's getting used to working from home, do you think the future might still look a little bit different, that maybe you might be more inclined to work from home 1 or 2 days a week and then have that face-to-face contact in the office 3 days a week?
That would be nice. Can you email that to the MD?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, hopefully she's watching now. Yeah.
But no, I know what you mean. I think at the beginning it was really daunting, the idea of being at home, and we just thought, oh my gosh, how are we going to muddle through? But yeah, it is actually quite surprising how quickly we have adapted, and I think we are just really, really lucky to be working in audio and still being able to get audio content out there. I don't think it's quite the same for people that would be working in TV based agencies.
No, I mean most film and video studios are now closed. Yeah, I mean there's no production, there's no video production still happening, right? Or if there is, it's post and remote dubbing and stuff.
Or or archive, that kind of thing. Yeah. So fortunately, I think we're in a good place. And if anything, even though it's such a horrible climate globally, hopefully, potentially we could come out stronger.
Yeah, well, let's hope. Well, Kate, listen. Before we go, if you've got anything to ask about ipDTL that you've been really raring to ask, and when I speak to Kevin, I must ask him this. Now's your big opportunity. But other than that, we'll send you. No,
it was. I was pestering you. Was it last week about connecting to the BBC IP comms? But now that I know that we can do that and have been doing that, then yeah, that was my last big question sorted.
Yeah, the BBC call their Comrex accesses, they call them IP comms. That's just their internal reference for it. And that brings us nicely around to sip.audio, because they are actually using SIP in those units so that you can dial in from ipDTL. It travels across the internet. They're not needing to run ipDTL at their end. They're running SIP on the Comrex boxes, and you just dial they call it BAS at the BBC, their internal SIP system. You just dial their BAS address, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which was something that we hadn't been doing much previously. And yeah, it's great to know that I can still do that in my kitchen.
Very good. Well, Kate from Cameo in London, so good of you to join us today, and hopefully it's broken up your what must be now becoming a little bit of a monotonous work day.
I know.
A little.
It's nice, just to talk to a new voice as well, something different for the day.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us. Good luck with everything, and stay in touch. Keep us posted as to what you're getting on with. Bye-bye.
Bye, Kevin. Thank you.
There she goes. That's Kate from Cameo. Great to talk to her today. If you want to talk to her as well, wouldn't it be lovely to hear from you? Our number in the USA is 323-336-6556. That's 323-336-6556. The man taking those calls is Roger, who's over in another part of, well, he's actually over in the United Kingdom, is Roger. He's taking your calls today. And let's see if we can hook up with Roger. Yeah, there he is. You can see him on the ipDTL screen. What you didn't see, by the way, when we were talking to Kate there, is that that call was being done through ipDTL. Although it is primarily an audio product, it does have the ability to send video, and that's what you're seeing with Roger now in his home studio. How are you doing, Roger?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we did this rehearsal the other day, it was noted that we have matching microphones.
We do. And there's also somebody trying to ring me on our hybrIP system. So there you
Whilst
go.
I talk to you, well, why don't you answer? Why don't you go ahead? Why don't you go ahead and answer it, and I'll keep myself busy at this.
They've actually rung off now, so if they want to ring back, they're more than welcome.
Okay, so well, maybe they've realised now that you're on the live stream, and
there he goes again. You see,
and talking to us. So, well, shall we let you go and take some calls then? But just to say, calls. You're there. You can take calls. Pass them through to us. The number is on the screen now, and we'll catch up with you a bit later because I'd like to talk to you on one of your USB SIP codecs.
Okie dokie, you do that, and I'm going to take this call.
Wonderful. There goes Roger, who's taking your calls on 323-336-6556. You'll see that there is a UK number there as well, which is 020-3781-9495. 020-3781-9495. This is good. Thomas is very good at picking up on the minor details. He says there's a mouse cursor on the screen with the number. You're right. That's outrageous. It's now gone. If you want to get in touch with us, all the usual social media channels are open to us. You can use the hashtag ConnectInQuality, and you can tweet us at InQualityMedia on Twitter. Get in touch, and of course, tell us what you're up to on the YouTube chat as well, in the comments there. If you've got any questions, you can post them there as well. We really want to, normally if you were visiting us in real life, Las Vegas, then you'd be asking us questions, and we want you to do that today. So NAB at sip.audio is the SIP address. 323-336-6556 is the phone number. Meanwhile, why don't we connect to somebody else? So let's go back to our computer here and click on Stuart, who is also in his home office / studio. See if we can get through to Stuart here. And there he is, Stuart Clarkson. How are you?
Hi, Kevin.
Thank you for joining us today. This is great fun. Tell us whereabouts in the world you are.
So I'm in the north of England as well, probably about 25 or 30 miles away from where you normally are, if you weren't in Vegas, obviously, because you're in Vegas at the moment. In the north of England, in West Yorkshire, in my little home studio here, where I'm going to be doing a couple of bits on the stream over the next few days.
Yeah, thank you for pointing out that I am in the Las Vegas Convention Center. Right, you've got something exciting coming up this afternoon. It will be 11 a.m. Pacific that we do this, which will be 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. here. No, there in the UK. And there's a clue behind you. Tell us what your challenge will be on the next live show.
I'm studying this in great detail at the moment, this little thing here. So this is a Raspberry Pi. I've never had one. I'm not a particularly techie person. I'm a journalist and a podcast host. But I decided, after seeing some of the in-codec self-builds, as you might see on this screen at the moment as well, to have a go at building my own SIP codec, USB SIP codec. So these are shipping in the UK and in the US at the moment, that people can buy a ready-made one. But there's also some instructions online on the InQuality website for building your own from some bits you can buy off eBay or off various electronic suppliers. So I've just about an hour ago had a delivery from UPS, and they brought me this.
How exciting! All right, now
other retailers are available.
Is the box still sealed? Or have you not had a sneaky trial run?
I know we're still sealed up. Let me just hide that off my screen. It's still sealed up. I've obviously bought mine from CPC in the UK. Other suppliers are available.
Yeah, they are not a sponsor, but they've been great, I should say, during this pandemic. CPC and especially RS Online and lots of other suppliers have been great at sending us stock whilst the world's been locked down.
Yeah, so in my box, I've got a Raspberry Pi 4, which was about 25, 27 pounds, UK pounds. I've also got a case for it. I've got a touch screen that I bought as well. And I've got a power supply, and I've got an Ethernet cable in that box as well.
Let's hope that the pickers at CPC have done their job properly.
It's going to be a boring show later. I've also got a micro SD card that I already had an 8 gig micro SD card, which is going to power the whole thing.
Perfect.
And so what I'm going to do later on in a few hours' time is open the box at the start of the show at 11 o'clock Pacific time. And over the course of hopefully about an hour or less, I'm going to build the SIP codec. As I say, no experience of being an engineer or anything like that. I'm just going to follow the instructions on your website and see if I can build it. And by the end of the show later on, connect to you in studio quality.
Wonderful. Now, I'll let you go away and do that. This is exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Cool.
I think it's going to be good fun.
Great. Okay. Well, well done. You're multitasking because you're a stay-at-home father and freelancer and all sorts of things. So well done on squeezing this into your schedule. And we'll talk to you in a while.
Yeah, I'll be back in about just under 3 hours to get going with this little project.
Smashing. Stuart Clarkson there. Thank you very much. If you want to find out more about our USB SIP codec, which in the UK here we call, sorry, in the UK there, we call our dispatch box, you can go to sip.audio, or if you type into Google, build your own SIP codec, you'll see the instructions. But if you want to buy one readily made, go to inqualitymedia.com/store. I'm told that we have a caller on the line. Roger tells me that he's put a caller through. So if I, on my computer, go to my other browser, which is Chrome here, I see that we do have a caller. So let's see who this is. Hello.
Hello, is that Kevin? Can you hear me?
I can. Who am I speaking
Excellent. Hello, my name's David Charles, and I'm an actor and voiceover who's been using your ipDTL setup and codec for some time. I've been logged in for some time, and had an account for a while, and it's been very, very useful, and it's been extraordinarily useful in recent times, especially with my agent's damn good voices linking me up to do documentary reads across the world. So that's been very useful, very useful.
And how have things changed for you in recent weeks?
Well, the bottom line on that is that nobody is going anywhere. I mean, you know that I'm literally live half an hour into town on a train into central London, into Soho, so I'm not going in there at all, and I'm working directly from home in my home studio. So that's the limitation plus the benefit.
Yeah,
you just go down the bottom of the garden.
So, did you have any questions for us today?
Yes, my specific question was, I use ipDTL, right? And I didn't know about SIP. I'm not sure what that is. And as a single voiceover with a studio, I was intrigued to know, was it useful for me? And in effect, really, what is SIP versus ipDTL?
Right. Okay. Well, I've got a treat for you because this afternoon, this evening UK time at 7 p.m, we're going to be looking at our dispatch box, also known as a USB SIP codec, which is our brand new SIP device, which you can plug into your broadband and plug a microphone or interface into. And instead of using ipDTL on your computer, you could go that way. Now, for a VO, I get that that might not really work for you because you want to be able to connect also to Pro Tools, and you want to be able to do all the stuff, recording and things that you do on your computer. However,
yes.
We also have a live show where we're going to be looking specifically at sip.audio Wednesday, 4 p.m. UK time, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, and we're going to look in much more detail then at what sip.audio and what SIP are. But just to summarize it briefly, it's to allow interoperability between your device, which you've chosen to buy, and it could be a Tie-Line device, hardware codec, or a Comrex hardware codec, or the Lucy Live app, or a consumer app such as Linphone. All of these things support SIP. There are lots of other devices on the market as well, and you can use SIP in these devices, and then in doing so you can allow them to talk to each other. So that's the great thing about SIP. If I've got a Tie-Line box and you've got a Comrex box, we can talk to each other through the common technology, which is SIP. Now you would say, I'm not going to get a Tie-Line or Comrex box because I'm a VO and it doesn't work for me, and I completely get that. However, a studio that you're working with may indeed, especially if it's a radio station, the radio has adopted SIP and IP codecs in some ways, certainly hardware codecs, far more than the voice production industry has so far.
Yeah.
So let's say you're doing a voiceover for a commercial radio station and they're using a Comrex hardware box. They can have their equipment programmed with a SIP account, and then you simply dial that device's SIP address from your dial pad right here in ipDTL. If I show you the dial pad, I appreciate you can't see this currently, but you can watch it back.
No, I'm watching on the main screen, but obviously there's a lag in a live conversation and what's happening on the screen.
Yeah, quite.
No problem.
So here's the dial pad in ipDTL, and you can type in any SIP address. And actually, we're going to do it with Roger in a while. He's got a USB SIP codec with him. We're going to dial its SIP address from the dial pad and connect through to him. So really, the simple answer for voice talent is you don't really need to know so much the why and the what of SIP, more just that with ipDTL you're already covered. If you're already an ipDTL user, you already have the ability to connect with SIP hardware and SIP users. Does that make some kind of sense?
Yeah. So let me clarify then. So I'm already into ipDTL. I'm logged in, and I connect up with a radio station. We previously had a conversation, and they say, "Well, look, we've got a codec here. And because you can dial us in straight through, we've got a virtual codec down my end, and they're hitting a hardware codec down their end, and it's seamless. I'm doing sales for you now as well."
Well, that's exactly. And just to be clear, I didn't know that you were going to come on today, David.
No, of course not. I didn't know myself. To be fair,
you're not a stooge caller in any way.
No, I've never met you. I've never met you.
Well, it would be great to meet you once the world gets back to normal, if there ever is a normal. Then I know it was supposed to be the One Voice conference last weekend. It was supposed to be VO Atlanta recently. At some stage, it would be great to meet you at one of these events anytime soon. Have we cleared up?
I quite often go to the production show that's happening at Earl's Courts in Olympia. I go to that one.
Yeah. Well, maybe next year. Have we cleared up your curiosities for now? Is there anything else I can help you with at this stage?
No, I don't think so. That's perfect from my point of view. I just didn't quite know what it was and whether it was specifically useful for me. But I can obviously see that I sort of don't need to know because it's already embedded in the program. Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's there for you. It's there for you when you need it. I think that's the best way to put it at this stage. So, David, great to talk to you. And you're whereabouts in the world are you?
I'm in Teddington, southwest London.
Oh, great. Well, I hope you're managing to make the best of this strange situation that we find ourselves in. And
luckily, because there are a lot of people out there in flats, and that's very hard work. But if you've got a garden, that's marginally easier. So there's a lot of people that's hard work for them.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right, David. There, everybody. David Charles, who's a voice talent. Great to have David on the line. We'll talk more about SIP in our special program about SIP, which is, as he refers to his bit of paper, just to be sure, 11 a.m. East Coast on Wednesday, which is 8 a.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. in the United Kingdom. Right, let's find out a little bit more about a particular SIP device.
Hi, I'm Roger, a broadcaster, voiceover artist, writer, and a bit of a geek when it comes to technology. And very recently, I discovered a little black box from a French company called EDT that is an audio codec that is SIP enabled. What does that mean? Well, it means that I can use my sip.audio account from InQuality to talk to any similarly enabled device anywhere in the world, and of course, ipDTL too. It's no bigger than the paperback book that it's currently resting on here on my desk, and it's ready and loaded with my account. So let's call Kevin from InQuality, who I know today is at a studio in London, Cameo Studios, in fact. So let's just give him a quick call and see what happens.
Hi, Roger. How's it going?
It's going very well, Kevin. I'm talking to you via my AETA microscoop, or U-scoop as it's affectionately known. How does it sound to you?
Sounds great to me. You could be in the same room, and you've dialed into a Comrex access unit here at Cameo Productions, which of course is configured with a sip.audio account.
Shall we try something else? Why don't you call me via ipDTL?
Great. Okay, so you drop off, and I'm going to establish the connection from ipDTL. Roger has gone. I'm going to go to my ipDTL dial pad and enter his SIP address and click on connect.
If by magic. That really is the way we should be going. The out with the ISDN boxes and in with the SIP enabled for sip.audio from in-quality boxes instead.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, then, here we are. Welcome back to our virtual Las Vegas Convention Center. Great to find out about one of the many devices that you can connect using sip.audio there. Let's talk to our next guest who joins us from the United States, I believe on the East Coast. His name is Jamie. Hiya, Jamie. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, Jamie Muffet. Thanks. Whereabouts in the world are you?
I am just north of Philadelphia. I was in New York until a couple of years ago, and we moved out of the city, and now I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere.
And you do lots of things. You're also a jack of many trades, but the main thing you've been working on recently is a podcast for Backstage, right?
Yeah, I'm a voice actor primarily, but the last few years I've been working with Backstage Magazine over here, and we've been producing a podcast for actors of all stripe, really, voice actors, TV, film, theatre, primarily based around awards shows. So Emmys, Tonys, Oscars, SAG Awards, Golden Globes, and awards contenders. And we interview them and we speak about the acting process and the projects they've been in. Yeah, that's pretty much, and I have my own podcast as well, which you've been on and you've been a part of as well. So a bit of both worlds.
And what challenges have you been facing in recent weeks and months? How's your life changed?
It's changed somewhat, as it has for everyone, I guess. I feel very, very lucky that I'm a voice actor and I can switch a lot of my work to home. I mean, a fair amount of it was already from home anyway. From the podcast standpoint, we would record most people in studio. So that's now shifted, of course, to online. And with the help of ipDTL, we've been able to facilitate that. But compared to film and TV folks who are just sat at home, so like twiddling their thumbs, not knowing what to do with themselves, I feel very lucky that I can continue with my work on both fronts.
Yeah. So how have you been utilizing the technology? Are you using it anyway? Are you using it any differently now to how you were? How's your workflow changed?
VoiceOver, it's just been more of this. I've been using ipDTL on and off for years. I think the first time I used it was, at least 3 or 4 years ago, probably. Lotus Productions, which is a studio in New York, is a big proponent of ipDTL, and I've been doing sessions with them. Yeah, Jim and Sam and Marion there are fantastic. So I think that was when we first moved out of New York, I started really diving into the IP options. I didn't want to get ISDN. So that's just been more frequent. I've been doing more of these kind of sessions. From the podcast front, it's completely switched. Like I say before, it was primarily in studio sessions, and the host is in LA, so I'd often listen in and I'd sometimes connect via ipDTL. But now the host is currently he's not even in LA, he's in Hawaii. And so we can interview people in LA, in New York. Actually, we're interviewing someone in London later today. So where obviously in studio is a little more face-to-face and the conversation can flow a little more naturally. In many ways, this has opened us up to interviewing more people and work around their schedules a bit more, and not having to consider studio hire and all that kind of extra complication.
Yeah, and so I guess as a voice talent, a lot of I suppose there are two types of voiceover now. There are the ones who knew how to work from home before, and the ones that are quickly trying to learn how to work from home. Yeah, so those like yourself who are already ahead of the game on this, life is a little bit easier for them. And we're going to do a special program for voiceovers on Wednesday at 11 Pacific. So 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll have a show specifically for voiceovers if any voice talent are watching and wondering how to use our services, especially ipDTL. But yeah, I think those people who weren't prepared obviously are having difficulty now. People like you, in many ways, it's business as usual. But the studios have had to quickly change the way they work because, of course, now the audio engineers are working from home as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that's the beauty. That's why I love ipDTL so much, is that all you need is Chrome. You don't need to have physical equipment, and obviously you don't have to change router settings, all those kind of things. You can just open up Chrome, go to the link, bish, bash, bosh, done. And that's been very helpful with the podcast, particularly because obviously I'm sending links out to reps to send to celebrities that are used to just going into studios, and it's not a world they're familiar with. But yeah, from the studio standpoint and voiceover, it's been very straightforward. I have the benefit of I actually came into this as an audio engineer myself, so it wasn't too big a leap.
That makes a massive difference, and I think that's there's I think it can go both ways, can't it? Some audio engineers do make the transition into voice talent, and they do very well at working from home because they have those skills, and they can essentially. You, Jamie, are a one-stop shop, aren't you? You could provide everything for an end-to-end production if indeed the client wanted that.
Yes, pretty much. I mean, particularly with voiceover, it doesn't require a huge amount in reality. It's not, I came from the music world, which is, hugely complicated with multiple mics and preamps and phase and all this kind of stuff that we just don't have to worry about with a single mic going into an interface into a computer. But yeah, pretty much these days as a voice talent, and even before the coronavirus, it was shifting very fast towards home studios. And, I definitely straddled the two worlds because I go into New York a lot for work. So there is that sort of legacy world of going into studios and even going in for castings and stuff that still somewhat exists. Who knows if it still will when we go back after all this is over. But.
And tell me, Jamie, in terms of audio engineers who are thinking about using ipDTL and they're currently having to learn how to work from home and change their workflows. Do you have any advice for them as to how difficult it is to get on board, to start using the service, to familiarize yourself?
Well, the first time I played with it myself, because I've used it a lot myself because studios would send me links and then I would just go to that link. I didn't actually have an account myself. And then I got my account. I actually did the 3-day trial. I think it's for $1, right?
Yeah, you can get a 3-day trial for $1 if you go through the sign up wizard. Yeah, so there's, as long as you remember to cancel in three days, if for whatever reason you're not happy, then there's not a lot to lose there.
Yeah, and then I just sent links to friends and played with it that way and just pressed all the buttons and screwed it up. Until I got it right.
Well, that's how we learn. I'm live streaming from my home office here, and this is very much a screw it up until you get it right operation right now. But that's
Welcome
how
to my
we
world.
learn. Yeah, exactly. That's how we learn. And we're in some ways, because we're a very small operation at Inquality, it is easy to do stuff like this because we just get on and do it. Or I just get on and do it with my team of useful freelancers and colleagues around me. Whereas I think some bigger companies who are now thinking about doing live streaming and much more work online and the live video and the like, it's it's more of a challenge for them because we're a small operation and we can screw up. Whereas if you're a big organization, you want to do this stuff right and get it right first time.
Yeah, and I mean, I try to get as much of the screwing up out the way within those 3 days in that 3-day trial, so that when I do an actual session, it doesn't happen. When you're a voice talent, obviously you don't want to be like, I can't hear you, or there's an echo, or it's embarrassing. It's not professional. So there are voice talents all around the world that you can practice with and just send links to and get to learn the software that way. So you get all that out of the way.
And the great thing currently, everybody's at home. Everybody's whenever you get in touch with somebody, they're always there. It's like a captain.
They just want to hear another voice.
Absolutely, yeah.
So they're happy to do it.
Did you have any pressing questions for us? I mean, you're fairly clued up, I think, but did you have any pressing questions for us before we let you go today?
I don't think so. I just want to thank you for implementing the wizard because
this is the sign up wizard. Shall we? We'll just show people that while you're talking.
What I love about that particularly is when I first started to contact reps and talent about coming on the podcast, I'd send them a huge long list and a big document about how to operate this thing and how to use it and how, you need to be on Chrome and blah, 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 select this thing. And now I just say, go to this link and follow the instructions. And it's very straightforward and it's made my life so much easier. So it wasn't really a question, but a statement.
That's great. I've just gone to our link, ipdtl.com/link/NAB, and it said enter your name, and it's asking me to choose my microphone now, so I can choose the USB Rodecaster Pro that I'm using, or my built-in mic, or whatever it is that I want to use. And then onto the next page, I can choose how I'm listening, and that's also going to be the Rodecaster. I can test that with this echo test, or I can play. Now this is going to get ear bleedingly loud, so I'll just turn the fader down slightly with some tone, and now I can move on again, and then it loads up and waits for the call, and then if I'm very clever, I can actually, once that loads, I can bring that connection in. I can see this person that's visited the link. Click on them, and it's me. So there you go. Yeah, that's a demonstration of the link that you were talking about there. So you're saying that that's made life easier for first time or one-off users, right?
Yeah, they will visit that link, follow that procedure, and then they have the single, the simple page. They don't have all the faders and the mixer and stuff that you give people more buttons and they're going to press them and they're going to screw it up. Right. I like the simplicity and the cleanliness of it. I think that was really a huge improvement for me.
Great. Well, Jamie, it's been really good to talk to you today from here in virtual Las Vegas to you over there on the other side of the USA. Thank you for joining us. Good luck with everything. And well, I hope you continue to prosper in these strange times.
Thank you, Kevin. It's great to be on the show. And thank you again for ipDTL. I use it every day.
Bye-bye.
It's great.
There's Jamie Muffett on ipDTL from his studio over there on the East Coast. If you want to get in touch with us and ask questions about ipDTL, which we've talked a bit about, sip.audio that we've talked a bit about, hybrIP, which is what we're actually answering the phone calls on, so you can get in touch via hybrIP, and we'll bring you in on this screen. This is our hybrIP screen. There you go. It's like a talk show system. In the old days, you'd have a hybrid. That's why it's called hybrIP. You'd have a phone hybrid connected to your broadcast console, your board. So we've called it hybrIP because the IP is IP, like in ipDTL. So instead of having that old way of connecting to phone calls, you can now do it all in the cloud. The person answering the calls, like Roger, can be in a different place. They can answer the calls and then connect through to you, connect through to the studio, forward the call if they think that it's not a crazy caller and they're worth putting on air, then they can transfer the call through to the studio, and that's what we demonstrated earlier with our caller David, who got in touch. So if you want to get in touch, you can call and ask us a question. The number is 323-336-6 556, and well, it's up. I can never get this right. It's up there in the corner of the screen. 323-336-6556. We're going to be showing you a live demo of hybrIP in our hybrIP edition of our virtual NAB show, Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, which is 11 a.m. Pacific and 7 o'clock in the evening in the United Kingdom. So do join us for that if you want to find out more about hybrIP, which is what you see on your screens here. And if you do get in touch, then we'll see your call come through in the near future. Now, I always do this. I give out the number, and then I immediately contact Roger, who is probably answering calls. Let's see if Roger is available to talk to us. In fact, I'm going to do it not from my hybrIP screen, but I'm going to do it from my ipDTL screen. Let's see how he's getting on. Maybe we'll see him taking a call and forwarding that through to us if he answers. If you're really clever and you're using ipDTL already, then you can call us on our SIP address, which is NAB@sip.audio. How are you getting on there, Roger? I'll ask him again. How are you getting on there, Roger?
It's all right. I'm listening to about 3 feeds at once, so let me just mute the streaming feed. No, very well indeed. I'm enjoying the show so far. I've fielded a couple of calls. We've got a whole load of people watching from various places. Like what have we got here? Cliff Hughes is a little confused because he thinks I'm sitting on your shoulder on the NAB stand, which is very true. I am, but we've got some hellos from where we got Arnold Kelly in Jamaica. We've got Jessica in Germany. Bev Standings in watching us. Will Jenkins Voices is in. The guys from Lotus Productions are in. They're all watching us on the stream. But yeah, it's going well, I think. You're enjoying yourself, obviously.
Yeah, I've got a couple of tweets here to the ipDTL Twitter account. So let's just see what these people have to say. I say that, and now my phone's gone to the wrong Twitter account. So In Quality Media is for the benefit of for the purpose of this event. In Quality Media is a good Twitter handle to get in touch with. Mark Sparrow says, "What are the advantages of using a USB SIP codec over a computer running Chrome browser using ipDTL?" We touched on that earlier, didn't we, Roger?
We did a wee bit. I think when we get round to talking about the USB SIP codecs, which is tomorrow evening, I think, isn't it? Yeah, or we're doing it later. I don't know.
Yeah, that's today at 11 Pacific, 2 East Coast, 7 UK time.
Yeah, there's some interesting combinations. I think the USB SIP codec is one of those convenient, particularly the one version, which is sort of hasn't got any frills on it at all. It's one of those things you can just put in a pocket with a USB mic and go off and do a dispatch, as we would call it in the UK, back to a radio station, very, very simply. But obviously the project that Stuart is currently working on sort of develops that theme a little bit, and it's actually down to your own imagination as to how you use that device. I have one on the desk. You might see it here. It's I have my one that I have built, and that is actually connected to a USB device called a Yellowtech Puck, which takes a clean feed out of the back of my audio mixer, my audio interface, which is an Audient ID22.
Also known as a Mix Minus. Yeah.
Mix Minus, absolutely. And basically, the little Yellowtech Puck, which is doing the donkey work, which is sitting on top of an old redundant Pronto 2 ISDN box, is the equivalent of that Pronto 2 ISDN box. So the USB SIP codec is doing the donkey work, and it works really, really well. It does actually mean that from my scenario, I can do the Mix Minus clean feed stuff with studios, with ISDN boxes, etc. And I don't actually have to use any of the resources on my iMac. So there are some advantages.
And donkey work is an official technical term. Yeah?
Of course it is. Yes, the heavy lifting is another one. Yeah.
I have a tiny USB SIP codec here, which is it's like we say, it's essentially a little Raspberry Pi in a box, and it's just playing around with my green screen technology slightly. But if I angle it the right way, you'll see here it's a tiny little box, and this is a version of what Roger's got on his desk, and what we've got a picture of here, the touchscreen version. In fact, there you go. Roger's got a little one on his desk as well, which we can now see, which is a similar device, all running the same firmware. Essentially, all these things are running the same technology. They just look differently. So anyway, enough talking about them. Shall we try one, Roger? Shall I try calling you? So. Yeah. Here in ipDTL, let's create a shortcut to dial you. So I'm going to make a new dialing shortcut, and I'm going to make it SIP. I'm going to put Roger. Which one do you want me to call here, Roger?
As I've got the earbuds in for the Rode NT USB, so why don't you call the Roger.dispatch?
Great. Okay. I'm going to call the shortcut Roger Dispatch 0, and I'm going to put as the address dispatch.roger. Is that right? Or is it Roger.dispatch?
Other way around. Roger.dispatch.
Sorry, you did say that. Roger.dispatch. At sip.audio. So I'm saving this as a shortcut so that it's easy for me to call you in the future. And there you go. It's now in my destination list in ipDTL. And let's call it, shall we? So clicking through, and I'm going to mute the incoming audio from your ipDTL instance on your screen there. And hello, Roger.
Hello there. I can hear you now loud and clear on the Rode NT USB mic connected to the USB SIP codec, the little Raspberry Pi box.
Great. It sounds, in the tiny thing I've got in my ear right now, it sounds absolutely no different to me. It's a slightly different quality mic, but we really like these Rode USB mics. They perform really well, yeah?
They perform remarkably well for what they are. I mean, they've got the same capsule as the sort of well, not sort of the NT1 and NT1A. So they've got a huge pedigree behind them. And I know people shun USB mics, but there are some good ones out there, and this is one of the good ones. And their newer version, which is the NT USB Mini, which also ships with one of our products, that's a pretty good mic as well.
Yeah, interestingly, and it might be because we're streaming video here at the same time, we seem to be saturating your internet connection. So I'm going to drop the video off because we just had a couple of little dropouts there. And the thing to say about all of this stuff, of course, is that it's as good as your internet connection, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It might not help that I've also got obviously two other USB SIP devices connected onto the internet stream, as well as what we've got going on the screen itself.
Yeah, so we're working your little rural broadband connection well, pretty hard here, yeah.
Yeah, well, I got 70 megs in and 20 out, so I think it's doing quite well, actually, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know what people are doing down in the house. That's the other thing.
No, of course. Well, do you know what? Since I dropped off that video stream, it seems to have stabilized. And in ipDTL, we can actually look at the connection quality stars for our connection to you. And if I hover over those, we now have 5 stars, and the packet loss is showing 0% on both send and return. So there you go. Just ending that video stream seems to have been enough to give it a fighting chance to get out of your broadband connection there.
Well, that's pretty good going, because obviously I've got hybrIP running, and I've got the Facebook stream and a few other things as well that we're doing back office stuff on. So yeah, you're right. The video's no doubt giving it a little bit of a stress.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else interesting on the social media there? I'm putting you on the spot. Are we pretty much? I don't want people to get in touch and not feel that we've covered their questions and observations. That's.
I know. I think let's just have a look at what's happening on the YouTube comments there. John Keimel, is it John Keimel? Yeah. Can one simply plug a Scarlett 2i4 interface into a Raspberry Pi codec or a USB SIP codec? Yes.
Yes,
simple as that
is the answer. Let me visualize. Let me visualize that. If I just reach down here, if you talk for 5 seconds whilst I reach down here.
Well, you reach down and get that, because the 2 options or 3 options Kevin had to call me was he could call me on the USB SIP codec, which is the one, which is what we're talking to you on, or I'm talking to you on via the Rode NT USB. We could have done it through the what I call the 7. It's the 7-inch version. But I also have a setup on the desk where I've got a USB SIP codec touch, which is connected to an Audion ID4 audio interface, a USB a buzz-powered interface with yet another Rode microphone attached to it. So we could have attempted that, and that's answering John's question really. But you show us what you got in your hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing to say is that while you were talking there, the connection quality has been going up and down. So I think maybe the Woods household is pushing the internet connection a little bit there at the moment. But it's, you know, we can do it. It's mostly stable. So this is a Focusrite 2i2, which is similar to the 2i4, which was mentioned in that social media content. It's got a USB connection on the back, and we can indeed simply hook up that device using USB to the USB on the side of the USB SIP codec. Anything that's class compliant, it's, you know, almost any, I'm struggling with, I haven't got enough hands for this, any USB device generally will work with these SIP codecs, anything that's what we call class compliant. So you connect it using USB to the side, and then you connect an Ethernet cable into there and plug it in to the power, and there you go. You've got a device. The only thing that's missing here is a microphone. You know, you'd connect your microphone then into the front of the device. So the short answer is yes.
Beautifully explained.
Thank you, Roger. Anything else from you at this stage?
No, I think we're good to go. Yeah. Smashing.
Well, I think we'll start to wrap things up then. I think as a first hour of our virtual NAB show, this has gone reasonably smoothly. That was a question.
Sorry.
I was a question rather than a statement.
Sorry, I was distracted by some of the questions. That's all. No. It's fine. So we've had a few more people drop into the conversation from Asheville in North Carolina, Maine, Minneapolis, Kansas City, and Simon Price has just dropped in from LBC Radio as well. So there we go.
Great. Okay. Well, lovely to have all of you on board. We are here all week, and we're going to do another show today. It's going to be very exciting this afternoon at well, let's go through the times on my bit of paper here. 11 a.m. Pacific, which is 2 p.m. East Coast and 7 p.m. in the UK. Stuart Clarkson, who we spoke to earlier, is gonna we're challenging him. He's got the stuff that's arrived in a box. We're challenging him to build a USB SIP codec using a Raspberry Pi, our in-codec firmware, and the other bits and pieces. So it should look something like this on screen by the time he's done. That's happening this afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's 11 a.m. over on the West Coast. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about ipDTL on our first show, and then our second show at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to be talking about the hybrIP phone system, which is what you've been answering the calls on there, Roger. We'll be doing a full demo of that. And then on Wednesday, first show will be all about sip.audio, including these devices. And then we'll have a special show aimed at voiceovers, voice talent. We've got a lot of voice talent who use and want to use, especially ipDTL, and we'll be giving them more advice as to how they might do that. So that's what's coming up in the week. We'll join you in 2 hours from now, and you'll, I imagine, be around for that as well, Roger. You're going to take the phone calls again on that, right?
I certainly will be. Yeah, I'll be here.
Great. Okay, Roger, thank you for joining us. Talk to you then.
Okay. Look.
Bye-bye. There you go. I dropped him off in his prime. If you want to get in touch during the next live show, it would be great to hear from you. If you're an ipDTL or SIP user already, then you can simply message NAB at sip.audio, NAB at sip.audio, or call in. Don't call for the next 2 hours, because while we're off air, we won't be taking calls, but you can call in a little bit later on. Tell your friends what you've seen using the hashtag ConnectInQuality. quality. And join us again at 11 a.m. Pacific. That's 2 o'clock this afternoon on the East Coast. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.